There I am. Okay.
There you are.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know
and young enough to do.
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
But it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight?
A man whose record shows that he will fight for what is right.
A loyal man who brings the job a fresh new point of view.
Well, it's up to you, it's up to you.
It's strictly up to you.
Cause it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed?
It's promised in the Bill of Rights to which we must be true.
So it's up to you, it's up to you.
It's strictly up to you.
And it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me. Kennedy, 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 Kennedy.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair? We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare,
You cast your vote for Kennedy and the change that's overdue.
so it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
Yes, it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy,
Welcome from my humble second bedroom here in Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley in the Commonwealth, the now even more infamous Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, part of these United States, North American continent, Western Hemisphere, on this planet Earth, the only one we have, third rock from the sun, in the Terran solar system, part of the Milky Way galaxy. This is the Kennedy Effect, live with you for the 14th of July, 2024. We are live right now on my personal Facebook, Jeff Kennedy, live on our YouTube channel, That Other Side of Information, live on our LinkedIn and Twitch, and of course the audio is live on hot101.net. hot101.net. Our name is our web address. If you can connect to the internet anywhere above, below, or on planet Earth, or beyond planet Earth for that matter, you can listen to hot101.net. Our name is our web address, but you don't need the main website to listen. Go to the Apple App Store for Apple devices, the Google Play Store for Android devices, and if you have any other type of device, you can use the TuneIn radio app to listen to hot101.net. Great thing about the hot101.net apps is that you need not provide a credit card, don't have to make a login, you don't have to provide a fingerprint, don't have to sign away your house, credit card imprint, give away your firstborn, none of that fancy stuff. The hot101.apps are extremely easy to use. You download them, you tap, it opens your listening, period, end of story. It could not be simpler. The hot101.net apps. You can, of course, use the main website to listen to us. Listen on desktops and laptops and tablets and phones, and Bluetooth it to Bluetooth it to headsets, Bluetooth it in the car, earbuds, speakers, whatever it is. You can listen to us. I would normally, at this point in the program, tell you about the myriad of places that we have shared the program, except I remain in Facebook jail and cannot share anything again until, what a shocker, tomorrow. And I think even tomorrow, not till evening, I think, like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening. So perhaps I will be able to share the weeknight show tomorrow night. I don't know. Facebook has done everything they can possibly do to shut this down. And yet again, because I do this now every time that I get blocked on YouTube, on Facebook. We never got blocked on YouTube, like ever, for any reason. We can go on there for 10 minutes. We can go on there for 10 hours. We've never been stopped. Nobody ever bats an eye. I guess I should say the automatic AI never bats an eye. I guess that's kind of punny in a way. Here's the kind of strange thing. Sort of. Whenever I get shut down on Facebook especially, and I will not, I can't hide the fact that is the preponderance of the people that get to us is still through Facebook. And I would continue to remind you that the death of Facebook is greatly exaggerated. It just is not a thing. It just, it is what, it just is. So let me just say that every time we get stopped on Facebook, you share too much, you're blocked, you can't share anything anymore. Okay. Happens a lot, right? I will then write to Facebook. I've tried to find actual phone numbers to call them, but I have contacted them electronically through MetaSuite and the regular Facebook page, and how many customer support, help center, the business. MetaSuite kind of is the business end of things, but the actual business customer support. I've tried desperately to just ask Facebook, and I have done this like more times than I can count at this point. What do you want from me to stop this from happening? Name your price. Give me an advertising budget plan. Do you want thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars, whatever? Tell me. I've even been so sarcastic as to send them the beginnings of my credit card number. I never sent them the whole thing, of course, but just tell me what you want. And they never respond. Ever, 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 ever. So what that then leads you to believe, I don't think there really is much of a choice other than to believe what I believe, is that they simply don't want content like this on their platform. Now, bigger outlets, much, much, much bigger outlets like Midas Touch, or who else goes live occasionally? Patriotic Millionaires does occasionally. I could probably, if I really put my brain to it, I could probably think of a lot of other things. They seem to be perfectly fine. I don't know why they're different, but they seem to be fine. So many of the other local, and when I say local, like private, sort of non, huge profit making things like this, I see all over my Facebook page. They don't, or timeline, I should say. They don't seem to get. We get it. I don't think I'm special. I also don't think I'm the only one that this is happening to. By the way, not by a long shot. But it is very interesting that I have given Facebook the keys to the castle. Just tell me what you want. All you have to do is tell me what you want. Take my money. Begging you to take my money. I guess Mr. Zuckerberg does not need my money. But just begging you to take my money. Take every last dime of it. Tell me what you want to take from me, and you can have it. And just nothing. Nothing. So, anyway, I guess perhaps, I shouldn't dwell on that so much, but it does irritate the snot out of me no matter what. I just ask them. So anyway, so welcome and thank you all for being here. Again, we are live now. The video is live on my own personal Facebook, Jeff Kennedy. Name's right there on the screen. Very pleased, honored. Always a better show when George is here with us. We are live on our YouTube channel, That Other Side of Information. We are live on Twitch. Look for my name. We are live on my LinkedIn. Look for my name. We should have been live on Twitter, but this lovely video streaming service that you see us on right now has disconnected from my Twitter for no reason whatsoever. And I didn't find that out until I was just about ready to get on the air with you. So I couldn't fix that. It is beyond time for us to find a new it's time to find a new streaming service. Period. What I want to, let me just get into this too. Let's just get into this. There is only one story to talk about. Oh, let me back up just 1 second and give you a quick. The President of the United States, not the former one, the active president, just an ever so grain of salt. Bit of sarcasm there. Is scheduled to address the nation from the Oval Office from 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be an hour and 45 minutes from now. We will end then, because anyone who is even mildly interested in this program, in all likelihood, then is interested in politics. And even if you're not interested in politics, it would be my hope that you are interested in current events and that you care about this nation. So President Biden will address the nation, by the way, for the third time in just a hair over 24 hours. For the third time, he will be addressing the nation, this time from the Oval Office. He is scheduled to do that from 8 p.m. Again, about an hour 45 from now. So we will be ending then so that you can go listen to what the president will have to say, and a review of what he has had to say so far. Among the things that he has said so far is to outright, completely, thoroughly condemn the attempted assassination of ex-President Trump yesterday. He condemned all violence, political violence, domestic terrorism. He condemned the tenor of campaigns and campaigning in this country. He condemned, not in so many words, he didn't actually use the words, but the kind of political climate that the unbridled spending that Citizens United has brought upon us. In that, I actually happen to think that the Citizens United decision has greatly exacerbated and sped up the near Civil War-like condition that we find the United States in now. He also said he would reach out to Mr. Trump to speak to him make all resources available to him, include him on all information that is found within the investigations, then called for a completely independent investigation of everything that happened, with the results to be shared with the American public upon completion. Now, we know from the White House that President Biden did speak to President Trump, former President Trump, although the context, dialogue, whatever you want to, transcripts if you want, from that conversation have yet to be made public. I find it disappointing. I'm sure it probably doesn't shock any of you. I find it quite disappointing that the ex-president has not even taken 2 seconds to say, either on his social platform or to the cameras, to the press, whatever, that they spoke. He's not going to say anything glowing about Joe Biden. He hates him, and he's not, then throws the campaign. So he's not going to say anything nice about him. But at a time, statements that have come from Mr. Trump so far have actually been quite good. I suspect he didn't write them, but they've been quite professionally done. They've been quite conciliatory. They've actually tried to lower the temperature rather than raise it, which is kind of why I think he didn't write them. But I think it would have been at least a little nice within the context of those conciliatory, he tried to say, remarks, to say, I had a lovely conversation with President Biden, or it was kind of President Biden to check in, and so on and so on and so on. But that said, okay. And I do think, by the way, Mr. Trump could go a long way to continue to ratchet down the temperature by actually just saying various ideas. He doesn't have to say what they talked about. He doesn't have to heap, undue glowing praise on President Biden, but just a quick thanks for checking in, I think would actually go a very long way. And again, let me be fair and let me say I do think former President Trump's social media comments so far have done that. I do believe they've made an attempt, at least, to lower the temperature. And I think that's a good thing. Let me get to what I think happened yesterday. There is a lot of ways to look at this. There's a lot of ways to look at this. For me, and I will freely admit that my view of this is a bit jaundiced. And dare I say, partisan. Now, I saw a lot of activity on social media yesterday. Some of it literally within minutes of the news breaking and beginning to spread about this assassination attempt. And by the way, this family knows a little something about assassinations. That is exactly what this was. Make no mistake. The Secret Service and the FBI are treating this investigation as an assassination attempt and as domestic terrorism. We didn't used to call these things domestic terrorism when President Lincoln was assassinated, when McKinley was assassinated, when there was an attempted, there were more, it's not reported too greatly in history, but there were more than one attempts foiled on President Roosevelt. Of course, President Kennedy was assassinated, so was Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. The attempt on President Reagan, we didn't call it domestic terrorism then. It's a relatively new term, but there have been a number of successful assassinations and assassination attempts in the history of this country. That's exactly what this was, make no mistake. It was an attempt to kill Trump, period. Now, as we talked about, I think it was on our weeknight program. I'm not sure if we talked to you about this on the Sunday program. That there is a difference between a movement and a cult. A political movement has a set of principles. It has a set of goals. It is widely dispersed, oftentimes with many leadership, many layers of leadership, and diverse and diffuse leadership, so that if any one person was to separate themselves from that particular movement or pass away, heaven forbid, or anything like that, the movement itself would continue. The example, of course, I used when taking you through this was Bernie Sanders. You know, his movement and our revolution was, the phrase was not me, us. Cults have no particular set of goals. They have no particular set of principles or guiding, overriding principles. They don't have a platform. They don't always even have any type of agenda. And they are generally centered around one man, or one person, I should say, because there have actually been cults led by females as well. For instance, Jim Jones, the mass murderer in Guyana, the Manson family, Reverend Sun Myung Moon. Those are the three biggies. For me, David Koresh, the Branch Davidians in Waco, Texas. These are cults. And when the head of the cult either passes on or just separates themselves from the cult, or just ends up coming to their senses and disavowing, or something along those lines, the cult tends to die with him. So I think the attempt to assassinate Trump yesterday was an attempt by a deranged young man to end a cult. Now, before I get any deeper into this, let me just, first off, by the way, Donald Trump is losing a single second of sleep wondering what I think about him. I'm not nearly that important. I'm a public figure, I guess, to a certain extent. I do this program now 4 nights a week, and on Sundays on 2 different stations. I'm a public figure to an extent. Certainly not super well known. I'm not being stopped on the street for an autograph, I guarantee you. I have gotten death threats, so somebody's listening. So I do not offer you my analysis in any inflated or out of bounds sort of way. Donald Trump is not losing a second of sleep wondering what I think. To be honest with you, I don't think he cares what anybody thinks about anything except himself. So he's not losing any sleep wondering what I'm thinking. But this is what we do here, so here's what I think. I think a deranged young man thought he was going to end a cult. And in no way, shape, or form, was he justified in doing what he attempted to do. I don't like Mr. Trump. I'm glad I don't know him. I think he's a despicable human being. I think he cares about himself and money. And you could make a list of the top 2,000 things that he cares about. 1,000 of them are himself, the other 1,000 are money. In any order that you wish. The only policy that he and I agree with at all is tariffs. Now, the way he wants to re-implement tariffs is completely scattershot and ass backward, but at least we agree that the country should have them. Beyond that, I don't agree with a single policy position that he holds. And by the way, I don't think he holds a hell of a lot of money. I think the people around him and the ones that own him and control him do. For all his disavowing of Project 2025, his name is mentioned in the document 312 times. It's a 900 plus page document. So damn near every 3 pages, Trump and his very potential second term are mentioned in the document that outlines Project 2025. So I don't like him. I don't agree with him. I wish he'd go away. But not in 1,000 years do I want to see the man harmed. It's barbaric to wish such a thing. Again, coming from a family who knows a little something about assassinations. I don't want any physical harm to come to Mr. Trump or anyone in his family. We're supposed to be a better nation than that. We're supposed to be a nation that when we disagree with someone politically, we talk to them. Or part of the First Amendment is the right to petition your government for redress. We talk openly. We use our freedom of speech. We speak to and through the media. We have rallies. We march. We assemble. We make signs. We sign petitions. We go to council meetings. We write letters. We post. We make phone calls. We send emails. That's how this is supposed to go. We don't murder people because we don't agree with them. It's barbaric. And it's third world. And I do not wish any harm on the former president. None. I think he should be defeated. I believe he is an existential threat to the continuation of democracy in this country. I believe if he is elected to a second term, that will be the end of democracy in this country. But I don't want him assassinated for it. I want him defeated at the polls. Cleanly, openly, legally. The only way to quiet a man like that is to reject him thoroughly. Not to kill him, but to reject him. And all that he stands for, and to reject all that the people who bankroll him and own him stand for. So let us be very, very, very clear about that. Now, I don't think anybody's going to take pieces of this program, cut it into little sound bites and feed it to the media that somehow and misquote me or take me out of context. I won't. I'm not that popular. I disavow and disagree with everything that Trump is. I genuinely dislike the man on every level. But never would I want to see harm come to him. I've told you in this past in this program, I think it's a bloody miracle he's alive, considering the way he eats and treats his body. I certainly do not want to see any type of violence be bestowed upon the man at all. None. The irony of what happened yesterday comes next. It is 6:31 Eastern Time. The Kennedy Effect is live with you for the 14th of July, 2024. We are live now on my own personal Facebook. Jeff Kennedy is right there on the screen in the bottom. I think it's still the bottom left-hand corner for you. I don't know if it's backward the way you're looking at it. I think it's the bottom left-hand corner for you as well. Go to my Facebook page, Jeff Kennedy. We are live there right now. Normally, I would tell you how I've shared the program to 150 places across Facebook and all the different pages and everything like that. I can't tell you that because Facebook has blocked us and shut us down yet again. I think I figured it out, though. I could get a verified account if I wanted to pay $15 a month for it. Then I have a feeling I'd be able to do whatever I wanted. Not that they've told me that. I'm just guessing. I was playing with it before we came on live. We are, however, live on hot101.net. Our name is our web address, hot101.net. If you can connect to the internet below, on, or above Earth, anywhere in the Terran solar system, anywhere. If you can connect to earthly internet, you can listen to hot101.net, and there's no type of device where you cannot listen to us. Hot101.net, desktop, laptops, tablets, phones. You can Bluetooth it inside your car, which I think is really the underrated place to listen. Bluetooth it in the car, Bluetooth it to speakers, earbuds, headphones, and you can tell Alexa to play hot101.net, but you don't need the website if you don't want to use it. First off, the great thing about the website is you type it in, www.hot101.net, it opens and you're listening, done, period. No credit card, no retina scan, no fingerprints, no credit card imprint, no, don't have to sign over your house, firstborn, sign your car over, none of that. It opens and you are listening. And that's how the apps work as well. Apple App Store for Apple devices, Google Play Store for the Android devices, and for all other types of devices, I would strongly recommend that you go to the TuneIn Radio app, which is an app that works across every type of device you can think of. Go up to the search bar on TuneIn, type in hot101.net, and you'll be listening. Apple App Store, Google Play Store, download it, tap it, it opens, you're listening. It's that simple. Hot101.net. I would tell you all the other places that we are, except we're not there because Facebook has decided to put me in jail yet again. So that's where we are. Please note as well, if you should happen to miss any of the program tonight, go to our YouTube channel where we are actually live right now. It's called That Other Side of Information. When we're done, the recording stays there. All of our recorded programs are there. It really is the best place to catch up with us and to really to take in the program if you've ever missed any of it. That really is the best place. YouTube.com/that other side of information. Also, what was I gonna? Oh, we will be back. We are scheduled to be with you 4 nights this week from 8 p.m. GCPR Live, and of course all the video outlets that you're already catching us on, GCPR Live and Twitter, Twitch. Well, I guess I'll get the Twitter reestablished. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all of them. TKE tonight, the Kennedy Effect tonight, Monday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Going to be a rough week this week. I'm working different hours. I will be sleeping even less. Guy the cat continues to hang on. I'm not sure how he's doing it, but he continues to hang on. Although I do think that's going to come to a head pretty soon. Could be as early as Saturday. I'm almost certain it will be by the end of the month. But he is hanging on, and it was really touching to watch Kristen grab him this morning and just hold him and listening to him purring so loud and rubbing the way cats, how cats do. They rub just rubbing into his face and into her face, and just being as wonderfully affectionate and loyal as he's always been. And so we think he's probably under 8 pounds now. And considering at one point he was, I think, 16 or 17 pounds, which was too much, but I always kept his weight somewhere in the 14 to 16 range. I believe he's under 8 now. But he's hanging on. So I think that's going to come to a head this week as well. It's going to be a long week. It's going to be a long week. But we'll be here. We are scheduled to be here with you anyway from 8 p.m. Eastern Time for a quick hour. TKE tonight. GCPR Live, Ghost Claw Productions Radio. Google us. You will find us on any one of a myriad of different platforms and all the video platforms where you're catching us now. That's tomorrow, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 8 p.m. We are with you till 8 p.m. tonight. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, is scheduled to speak to the nation live from the Oval Office tonight from 8. So we will be signing off, ending the program at or before 8 o'clock so you can go listen to the President. And I would strongly encourage you all to do it. I would ask you to do it. I would beg you to do it. Go watch the President to see what he has to say. Maybe you'll agree with it. Maybe you won't. I don't know. Probably depends on how you feel about the President. But I suspect it will be a very conciliatory, yet thorough and professional address. And I think you should check it out. So we will be ending from 8 p.m. so you can check out the his speech live from the Oval Office. It'll be the third time in just a hair over 24 hours that President Biden has spoken on the topic. Let me get to the irony of what happened yesterday. I am not the only one. I'm certain, very, very certain, that I am not the only one to have had these thoughts. Again, I'm not that smart. But I could not help but be profoundly struck by the monumental levels of irony in what happened yesterday. Former President Trump was the victim of the very political violence that he has fomented, stoked, advocated for since he came down that escalator in 2015. And I'm not even sure, in good conscience, you could call that opinion. He has stirred, created, fomented, encouraged political violence in this country. He has talked about, we remember his rallies from 2016 where he'd tell the crowd to beat a guy up and that he would pay for the bail, which of course he never did. He told the Proud Boys to stand ready. He incited the insurrection on January 6th. He's talked about putting immigrants and Democrats in concentration camps, detention camps. He's used both words. He has fomented this violence. That's why I give him credit, fair and due credit, for the temperature lowering comments that he has posted on his own social media platform, because he could have doubled down and said, look what they did to me, now it's time to do it to them. But he has not done that, to his credit. And I suspect President Biden tonight will be trying to lower the temperature as well. Maybe this is a coming to Jesus moment for Trump. Maybe it is. Maybe. I doubt it at the end of the day, but I kind of hope so. I more than kind of hope so. I very much hope so. As I mentioned in the first half hour, I believe President Trump needs to be, former President, ex-President Trump, needs to be defeated in November. Resoundingly. I think it needs to be a landslide against him. I think he needs to be completely disavowed. It's the only way that he goes away. But he absolutely should not have any acts of violence done upon him. No one should. With the irony that he was the victim yesterday of the very political violence that he has fomented, that he has helped create, to stoke, to grow, that the racism, the anger of working men and women in this country used as a tool by Trump to point their anger toward the other, toward the people that don't look like me, toward Democrats, toward women. The irony that he should have beset upon him the very type of political violence that he has made a political career of. It's irony to a point that it's inescapable. And I'm not even sure. I don't even know what to say about it. I don't know what you say about it. I really don't. I don't even know how to. I don't know. I mean, the irony is absolutely indescribable and deep to a point of, I mean, you could damn near drown in it. And that's just one layer. Now, some folks have been very kind enough to check us out. I don't recognize a lot of the names here that have commented so far. The comments are coming in from Twitch. I am profoundly thrilled that you are here giving us a chance. We hope you love the program. We hope you stick with it. We hope you're here every time that we're live. Certainly understand if you don't, it's America. I'm certainly not everybody's taste, but we hope you enjoy the program. We very much welcome you here. I am not going to try to pronounce that screen name. I would have said Chekhov from a Star Trek point of view, but I don't think that's right. He mentions, I don't think it was Trump or the Democrats. Grammar's a little off there, but that's okay. Both Biden and Trump speak of unity in the USA. They fear civil war. And who would want something like that? I hope you're right. I think Trump might fear a civil war now. But again, he's done everything to try to bring one on. That's what January 6th was supposed to be. The beginning of a civil war. The overthrow of government. The ending of a constitutional democracy. That's what January 6th was. And he is responsible for that. Not solely. Stephen Miller had a lot to do with it. Eastman, all of them. You know, I thought about it last week. Rudy Giuliani was disbarred last week in New York State. He can no longer practice law in the state of New York. And it was ruled that his criminal trial for his election denial and attempts to overthrow the government is allowed to continue. And it just struck me that here we are again. Here's another person who's going to go to jail for Trump while Trump continues to parade around the country, spewing everything that he spews, leading directly to the act that we saw yesterday. No matter how bad I think it is, no matter how unjustified it is, and it is unjustified completely. We don't settle political arguments with assassination. We talk to each other and we vote. I thought that was ironic again this week too, that yet another Trump acolyte, yet another member of the circle is gonna go to jail while Trump continues to remain free, so to speak. Terrible. Insane. Truly insane. Anyway, so that's just one layer of irony. Another layer of irony that struck me yesterday is that Trump was shielded and protected from further gunshots by the Secret Service. Agents whom have taken an oath to put their lives ahead of the person they're protecting. Now, I don't say this as any value judgment, if you will, on the job that they did yesterday, because it does seem to me, I mean, I'm sure as hell not breaking any news here. It might be the most bloody obvious thing I've ever said on this program. Clearly, they didn't do a very good job yesterday. Clearly. Obviously. After the shots rang out, they piled on top of Trump their jobs, the oaths that they swore to take bullets for him. No doubt some of those agents are ex-military. Part of their job, the oaths that they've taken, are exactly the kind of oaths that Trump in the past has called people suckers for taking. Fools and suckers. Remember the famous story told by, the general who served as chief of staff. I'm blanking on his name. I almost said Mattis. Well, I think Mattis was there for that conversation too. But the general who ended up being Trump's chief of staff very briefly, and I'm blanking on his name. I can see his face. His son was killed in combat in Iraq following 9/11. And I'm blanking on his name. And, Trump said to them, why would somebody join the military and sacrifice their own lives? They're fools. They're suckers for doing it. So I wonder if those Secret Service agents were, they are exactly the kind of people that Trump thinks are suckers. Exactly the kind of people that he thinks are fools and suckers. Because they were willing to take bullets for him. Imagine the irony. Again, this assassination attempt yesterday has so many layers of irony to it. It's profound. You could drown in it. Imagine Trump on that stage underneath a bunch of bodies who have sworn an oath and whose job it is to take bullets for him, while he thinks that they're the very same kind of people who are fools and suckers. I mean, it's inescapable. Imagine that level of irony. it's hard to even put into words. It's just, it's hard. I mean, it's just hard to even, wrap your head around it. John Kelly. Thank you, George. General Kelly. Gosh, how did I forget that? It was General Kelly. General Kelly's son was killed in action during the Iraqi occupation following the illegal invasion following 9/11. And they were at some kind of memorial, discussing some kind of memorial, I think it was, when Trump said, "Who the hell does that anyway? Fools and suckers they are." And General Kelly said, "I lost my son in combat." And Trump called Kelly's deceased son a fool and a sucker. By the way, General Kelly has come out and said very, very publicly to anyone who will listen that Trump is an existential threat to democracy and to national security, and that he should not come anywhere near the White House for a second term. It's not opinion. General Kelly said that. And having served as his chief of staff and having dedicated his entire life, his entire adult life, to the United States military in service to this country, I think he knows a little something. But that said, the irony of that, of Trump being shielded and protected by the very same people that he thinks are suckers and fools. So there's two layers right there. The fact that he's suffered the political violence he has advocated for, and that he was protected by people he thinks are fools. Here's another layer. At least 3 of those Secret Service agents that were on duty yesterday and threw their bodies on top of Trump to protect him, and then escorted him to his armored vehicle, all paid for by the government, by the way. 3 of them were women. The very women that Trump has taken their bodily autonomy from, and their right to reproductive health care. Women that Project 2025 advocates should no longer have the right to have a bank account or a credit card or own property. The same Project 2025 manifesto that has Trump's name in it every 3 pages on average. 312 times. Now, when the shots rang out, did any of those women stop and say, wait, he took this from me. 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 No. No, they didn't. They did not think twice. They sprang into action and protected the ex-president. Very same women that he has devalued and dehumanized and the manifesto bearing his name would relegate to a medieval status. At least 3 of those agents were women. There may have been more. From the video that I saw, at least 3 of them were women. And yet they protected him anyway. I've put a comment on the screen from one of our Twitch viewers, and thank you very much for being there. Shooter, a deranged 20-year-old from Mount Bethel, PA. From Bethel Park. Sorry, I think it's Bethel Park. Was a registered Republican. Now, it has since found out that he donated $15 to a progressive organization about a year ago. But his voter registration and voting habits, so far as I have seen reported, I am not a reporter. From what I have seen reported, was, because he's deceased, registered Republican and Republican in his voting habits. Although last year he did donate $15, not 20 or 30 or 20,000 or 200 million, $15 to a progressive organization. Yet another layer of irony. Here's yet another. He was using an AR style weapon. And if you've seen the videos or pictures, there's some still pictures. There's a video, but the video's focused on, might as well be a still picture of where the shooter was killed. He has an AR style weapon on a tripod with a sight. Exactly the type of weaponry and paraphernalia the right wing has championed since the onset of, Nixon and the Reagan movement that cobbled together this most ridiculous cabal of constituencies to take power. The Second Amendment fetishists and nuts. When even the late Justice Scalia said that the idea that the Second Amendment is without bound is a ridiculous idea. To think that the Second Amendment does not have limits is absolutely ridiculous. Scalia himself said that. So he was lying prone in a sniper position with a military weapon with military paraphernalia, tripod and sight. Same type of weapon that Republicans have been fighting to protect. Well, I shouldn't say to protect, but fighting for Americans to have in their hands. Fighting an assault weapon ban. It's exactly the kind of assault weapon that would be banned under an assault weapon ban. I mean, my goodness. My goodness, the levels of irony that happened yesterday. It's almost unfathomable. Truly. I don't think I'm the only one that thinks it. And again, I'm not that smart. I'm not the one that thought of all these things either. Some of them. But not all. It's just, I mean, it's hard to fathom. It really is. Really is. Liberty Twitcher, who's back with us. I think I recall your name from earlier last week. I think we'll find that well, I should put that on screen, shouldn't I? I should put that on screen. Dummy. I think we'll find that the DEI is one of the reasons the Secret Service did such a disastrous job. I don't know how disastrous it is. I'm not an expert It certainly looks like they didn't do a great job. It's certainly possible that they did not call in enough help and assets from the Pennsylvania State Police and local police. There just simply may not have been enough bodies. I don't know. But certainly on the surface, it looks like the Secret Service was lacking. But it's very early. And I would again point to the fact that President Biden has ordered an independent, complete, thorough investigation with already saying out loud to everyone the results of said investigation will be available and open to the public. But it certainly does look like the Secret Service was lacking at a minimum. 7:02 Eastern Time, entering the second and for tonight, final hour of the Kennedy Effect live with you for the 14th of July, 2024. Coming to you from a now even more infamous Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. For whatever it might mean to you, for geography's sake, we are in the Lehigh Valley, where this assassination attempt took place is roughly 4.5 hours west of us, outside of, it was yet even still another, I think, 30 to 45 minutes from the Pittsburgh suburbs, let alone the city of Pittsburgh itself, is closer to Ohio, really, than anything. Pennsylvania is, I think, the 8th largest state in the country. I might have that wrong. It might be 12th. But it is a wildly diverse Commonwealth. Here in the East, it is much more urban and much more like influenced, I think, by Jersey and even Maryland. Central can be, the northern tier is quite rural. The center is quite rural, I would say, except for maybe York and Harrisburg. And the west, with the exception of Pittsburgh, is, I would say, much more like Ohio. And so this was in the west, about 4.5 hours from us here in the Lehigh Valley. Closer to Ohio than not. And again, I think I heard mentioned on the news this morning that the Butler area is 30 to 45 minutes from the Pittsburgh suburbs, let alone the city of Pittsburgh itself. Here's yet another layer. Oh no, I should finish my business, shouldn't I? Again, this will be the final hour of the program. Normally we take you to 9 p.m. and sometimes even a bit later. President Biden is scheduled to speak to the nation from 8 p.m. from the Oval Office. We will end the program before that. I strongly encourage you, request, ask, beg, whatever. Please go see what the president has to say. Not because you may agree with it. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. I'm sure your feelings about the president will largely dictate that. But I think at this time, with the real historic action that took place yesterday, I hope you will check out what the president has to say. I think it's an important thing. I don't expect his remarks actually to be all that long. I suspect it'll be maybe 10, 15 minutes max, could even be less. But this is an important time to hear from the leader of the nation, from the chief officer of the country. Like him, whether you like him or not, support him or not, this is a time where we need to hear from the president, so he'll be speaking for me. That'll be the end of the program there. We are live on my Facebook, Jeff Kennedy, live on Twitch, live on LinkedIn, and of course our YouTube channel, That Other Side of Information. If you have missed any of the program, that is the best place to catch up with us after it's over, is That Other Side of Information on YouTube, youtube.com/That Other Side of Information. All of our recorded programs are there, and we hope you'll check it out. My very uncomfortable ask and kind of promotional shilling kind of thing here, on all of the video platforms where you can find us, which is kind of the way I refer to them, the social media platforms, we ask you very humbly, respectfully, to give us a like, a subscribe, and I'm not talking money subscription, but a like, a subscribe, share, whatever the appropriate thing is for that particular platform. It just helps grow the show. And so we hope that you will do that for us. Check us out on YouTube, give us a subscribe. See us on Facebook, give us a like, give us a share. I am on Instagram. If the show is not currently on Instagram, I am on TikTok. Just wherever you might find us, we hope that you'll give us likes, subscribes, shares, whatever's appropriate for that particular platform. It does help grow the program. We would be very humbled and grateful if you did exactly that. So please allow me a couple minutes to ask you for that. We are on hot101.net. Our name is our web address, hot101.net. Go to the website. It opens your listening period. If you can connect to the internet anywhere below, on, or above Earth, you can listen to hot101.net 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It never stops. Hot 101 is always right there with you, a wonderful and constant companion with great, great, great music and our humble program. And we appreciate being part of the hot101.net family. Any type of device that can connect to the internet, laptops, desktops, tablets, phones, you can Bluetooth it into speakers, headphones, earbuds, Bluetooth it in your car. Use the apps if you don't want to use the website. Apple App Store, Google Play Store for Android, and the TuneIn Radio app. And of course, you can tell Alexa to play hot101.net. We are proud to be part of the hot101.net family still. Very, very proud to be part of it. We hope you'll check out hot101.net. I would normally tell you about 1,000 different other places that we've shared the program, but I'm in Facebook jail. So that's also part of why we kind of ask you sometimes to like, subscribe, and pass it on, and so on and so on. Someone from Twitch asked if I was at the rally. No, it was 4.5 hours from me, and I don't support the ex-president in any way, shape, or form, except for the fact that I would never want to see harm brought to him. What happened yesterday is barbaric. It is third world. We are a better nation than this. If you don't agree with what Mr. Trump stands for, if he indeed stands for anything, you vote against him. You vote him out. Well, he's not in right now. You voted him out in 2020. You make sure he doesn't return. That's how I intend to disagree with Mr. Trump. I won't vote for him. There's nothing he could offer me that would make me vote for him. I don't agree with him on anything. There is yet another piece of irony that came from yesterday. And that would be, did you know within the perimeter of the event yesterday, there were metal detectors? Now, why would a man who is not afraid of armed people, why would a man who wanted the metal detectors taken down, dismantled, powered down, not used on January 6th, 2021, the Capitol insurrection, they had metal detectors yesterday? Isn't that ironic? Now, the deranged shooter was outside the perimeter. Although how only 150 yards, approximately his distance from his shooting position to the lectern where Trump was speaking, only about 150 yards. It's a pretty tight perimeter. I suspect that you're going to find somewhere in the future, and it might be years from now before this investigation is completely thoroughly done. We know these types of investigations take painfully long to complete. I think you might find that the perimeter was so tight out of expense. The Trump campaign is notorious, not just for having the types of rallies that were taking place yesterday, but the exceptional cheapness with which they do them. Mr. Trump had a rally in neighboring Lehigh County. It was the Lehigh County Republican Committee that had to pay to rent the space because the Trump campaign literally didn't have the money. So the chairs, the bleachers, the flyers and flags and bunting and metal detectors, somebody had to pay for all of that. It should have been the campaign, the Trump campaign. It may very well have been the Butler County Republican Party. I honestly do not know. I do not know, and I'm hesitant to speculate. But one of the reasons where you might have such a tight perimeter is expense. Because one would think at least that perimeter would have been wide enough to cover the surrounding buildings. And yet, it wasn't. But isn't it somewhat ironic, if not very and substantially ironic, that the former president requires metal detectors for his rallies when he ranted, raved, rambled on and on about not having metal detectors on January 6th. And at the same time, trying to tell the police and the authorities to take the metal detectors down, he spoke behind bulletproof glass on January 6th. I suspect, too, by the way, you're now going to see it be standard practice for candidates to speak behind bulletproof glass in situations like we saw yesterday. I think that's going to become standard practice now. And I don't know that that's a good thing. There's a beauty to campaigning. Most folks who went to that rally yesterday, even though, of course, I profoundly disagree with them politically, they went to see their guy. How many times do you get to see a president or a former president live in front of you? How many times does a president or a former president travel to a place like Butler County, PA? It just doesn't happen that much. So they went to see their guy. And to think that not just Mr. Trump in this case, but any president, if it would have been Eisenhower or Nixon or Reagan or Clinton, somehow in this, kind of clear bulletproof box, kind of like the Pope Mobile, does kind of detach that personal connection. And it would be a shame, but I think it's the times that we live in. I think it's just the times that we live in. But anyway, yet another piece of irony for me that metal detectors were on site. When Trump in the past has said we shouldn't have metal detectors. We don't need metal detectors. I want them taken down. I want them deactivated. So, just irony. Again, ironic. I'm just gobsmacked at the level of irony from yesterday. I mean, I think I've named 5 or 6 different things now. But the irony of it is just inescapable. It is deep to a level that we should be drowning in it. But at the same time, what I'd like to ask you, and I ask your continuing forgiveness, because as pretty as this video presentation is, and I do kind of think it's quite attractive, we continue to not be able to have phones. This doesn't work with the phone system. And support for this tells me it will never work with the phone system because it simply doesn't work. So I can't take your calls, sadly. I guess I could. Actually, George, you and I did not speak of this. I think I can if I do the old phone to the microphone thing, but that's about as good as I can do. Very, very sloppy, ineloquent way of doing it. But I think that's the only way to do it. I deeply continue to encourage your comments and questions in the chat. What are your thoughts about what happened yesterday? Are you angry? Are you shocked? Are you sadly not shocked? Are you not surprised? What do you think has anything changed in our country from before 6 o'clock last night to after? How do you what do you think? What do you make of the entire thing? How does this campaign proceed? Will it be more civil? Will it be more angry? One of the things that did come from yesterday, most of the senior leadership of the Proud Boys is in jail, right? They were tried and jailed following their actions January 6th, the insurrection in 2021. But they continue to exist as an organization. Their social media yesterday, they were quite plain as they sent the word out to their followers across the country, suit up and get ready for action. It's war. Now, I happen to think the leadership of the Proud Boys, not exactly the people who are going to be at the front of that line. I think they found a way to make money. But there are members of the Proud Boys who are suited up. They are locked and loaded, and they are ready for a fight. Certainly on January 6th, you could make an excellent case that they became Trump's private militia. And I suspect many of them still are. They're ready for a fight. Did we descend even further into civil war yesterday? Or was it a shocking wake-up call to bring us back from the precipice of war? Obviously, I hope the latter more than the former, but I'm asking what you think. Kat in the comments says, when will Trump plan to take revenge on Democrats? I don't know. He had already talked in this he's already talked in this campaign about putting Democrats in detention camps. I suspect I don't think I'd be in the front of that line, but I'd be somewhere on the list. He's already talked about putting Democrats in detention camps. He and his followers. And his followers in office have talked about it. Kat asks a question, should we expect Joe Biden to get shot at next? I think the White House tried to do something very calming yesterday. President Biden was at his house in Rehoboth Beach for the weekend. And if you've never been to Rehoboth, you should check it out. It's fantastic. And he has a home in Rehoboth and has for quite a while. Not just since he's become president, but for decades, apparently. He's had a home in Rehoboth on the beach. And they're overlooking the ocean. And so he was supposed to be there for the weekend. And as soon as this happened, the White House released that the president would be returning to the White House because of the gravity and seriousness of the situation. I happen to think that was probably part of it, but I also suspect that was a very calm, nonchalant way of saying we need to move him to a safer location in fear of retribution. Do I know that? No. Am I speculating to a point? Yes. Would it be natural for a president to return to the White House under those types of circumstances? Yes, it makes perfect sense. But I also suspect the hidden reason that's in there that the White House did not want to tell the American people so as to hopefully contain any nervousness, or I don't want to say panic, because I don't exactly think the American people panicked yesterday in any way, shape, or form. I think we were shocked, but I don't think there was any sense of panic. Any sense of panic. It was a quiet, nonchalant, matter-of-fact way of saying, well, the president's going to go back to the White House where he can convene everybody, all the communication, et cetera, et cetera. When I think certainly part of that decision was probably we need to get him back somewhere where we can keep him safe. And I'm sure his Rehoboth house was loaded with Secret Service agents, snipers, roads blocked by local and state police, and so on and so on. But the White House is a fortress. So I tend to think they moved him back to the White House for his own safety. Kat asks if the U.S. military is... are the Proud Boys strong enough to defeat the military? No, not in any way, shape, or form. But many Proud Boys are ex-military. And given the fact that in this country since really the 80s, the Second Amendment has been treated as a completely unopened and unfettered, there's simply no restrictions on it. They are very, very well armed. And of course, the body armor, military fatigues, all of it you can just buy online. Actually, most of the weaponry you can buy online. Many of them are ex-military, and they are armed to the teeth, and they are looking for a fight. Now, I suspect within the ranks, and I don't use that as a pun, within the ranks of the Proud Boys, there are many who are true believers. They believe Trump is heaven sent. They believe he is their salvation. Salvation from what? I have no idea. But I think in the higher ranks of the Proud Boys, because they do have a military-like ranking structure, they're getting rich. The Proud Boy leaders who are in prison, and by some reports actually still have a good deal of control over the organization from prison, they're getting rich. I believe I have his name right. It's Enrique Tarrio, who was the leader of the Proud Boys, who is now in prison for his actions on January 6th. It didn't exactly look to me, even though he would dress the part, it didn't exactly look to me like the guy who was going to lead a column into combat. Kind of looked more to me like, come on, guys, we're headed for action, and then say, go get him, go over there, I'll be right behind you. But he got rich. He got famous and he got rich. And he had, again, no pun intended for my use of military terms, he had columns of men following him. They're ready for a fight. They're geared up. And they were telling their fellow members through social media yesterday, get ready, this is our cue. Now, thankfully, very, very, very thankfully, I have not seen any violent reactions to yesterday anywhere so far that I can tell. I haven't seen any reports of that. I hope it stays that way. And I'm not just talking about retribution against President Biden, but just general violence. A group of Proud Boys attacking a Democratic office or firebombing a Democratic office, or just two people arguing in the streets and coming to blows. I haven't seen any of that. I'm very thankful for that, extremely thankful for that. I hope it stays that way. But there was reporting yesterday that the Proud Boys were already doubling down. They weren't taking the tact that Trump himself took of we need to simmer down. They were boiling. They were heating up. They are ready for a fight. But what do you think about yesterday? What does this say about our nation? What does it say about the state of campaigning? What does it say? You might not think there's a connection, but what does it say about the overwhelming and massively disproportionate effect of money in our politics? This modern cabal and very disjointed group of constituencies that are actually quite dichotomous, that are actually quite at odds with each other if you really look at what they stand for, but yet somehow, shoved together like a really bad snowball into this, what is now the Republican base. Would these groups even be together without the massive, massive dark spending allowed by Citizens United? Would there be a Republican Party without Citizens United? And I've told you on this program 1,000 times, I don't think the Republican Party is even a functional political party. It is a cabal and conglomeration of disparate interest groups that are very well funded by a billionaire class that has decided that democracy is no longer necessary for this same billionaire class to continue its unabashed, uncontrolled mass accumulation of wealth. And I think you can draw a line from Citizens United to what happened yesterday. Because the unbridled spending that Citizens United has brought upon us, the ability to advertise, the ability to push out mass conspiracy theory all over social media to keep the daily outrage that comes from Trump and the Trump campaign. If you make people angry enough, eventually they blow. And this kid blew. And he is again, he's passed now. And this kid was completely, thoroughly, to every fiber of existence, unjustified in what he did. Completely. If you're politically angry, if you disagree with the other side, then vote. Research, learn about the issues, and vote. If you don't want to see Trump in office again, vote. You don't shoot the man. You don't kill the man. You vote. You defeat him at the polls and let him slink away in obscurity the way he did for a few years after the 2020 election. Not even having the class to attend the inauguration. Just slinking away to Florida and not being heard of for a few months. Or heard from, I should say, for a few months. If you want to see Trump disappear, then defeat him at the polls. You don't shoot the man. That's not America. Randall asks if I'm going to open the phone line. I just said, the only way I can do that is I got to hold the phone up to the mic. It's the best I can do. If you're willing to do it, then have at it. It's a shitty way to take phone calls, but it's all I got. I believe that those of us here at GCPR have a real decision to make about whether to continue to use this program. The phones don't work. The links to most of the social media platforms work when they feel like it. I think it might be about time to say goodbye to this damn thing. It's very pretty. It has some really cool features. But it doesn't... I almost dropped it. I almost dropped a bomb. But it doesn't fracking work. And I can't seem to get anybody to help us to make the fracking thing work. So, Randall, if you want to call, go for it. I'll hold the phone up to the mic. It's all I got. It's the best I got. We're only going to be with you for possibly another 25 minutes. Again, around 7:55, somewhere between 7:55 and 8, we will say goodnight to you. Please go watch the president and see what he has to say. I very much believe that whatever his message is, I think we pretty much know what his message is going to be. Whatever his message is, I think is going to set the tone for the week. And my very desperate hope is that it sets the tone for the remainder of the campaign. Let's remember, by the way, the Republican National Convention begins this week. I think Tuesday? It seems a little quick. It might be Wednesday. I am going to look that up very quickly for you. Republican National Convention. Actually, it starts tomorrow. My goodness, it starts tomorrow through Thursday. Tomorrow through Thursday. I will not be watching much of it, I can tell you. I try to limit the amount of lies and fascist propaganda that's thrown at me in a day. I try to limit it. I get a rash. I'm allergic to it. But the RNC begins tomorrow in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a city that Trump himself called horrible. So Republicans are going into a city that they believe is horrible, with a campaign that is notorious for not reimbursing local authorities for their expenses for protection and road closures and police overtime. And Christ, isn't that ironic as well? But that begins tomorrow. And I think regardless of what end of the political spectrum you're on, you should try to take in some of it, at least as much as you can stomach. But you already know what it's going to be. It's going to be a 4-day Trump love-a-thon, and it's going to be more lies than you can count. And it's going to be everything that Republicans do that they'll be accusing Democrats of doing and trying to push it on us. I saw on social media yesterday And again, this is something that Trump could have squashed immediately. And I believe he's allowed it to foment for his own gain. Surprise. Immediately after this, the conspiracy theories launched on social media. This assassination was staged. Coming from the left. And then coming from the right, Biden sent the assassin. I can tell you, given the vast resources under the command of the presidency, not just President Biden, the presidency itself, where he appointed the director of the CIA and Homeland Security and the director of national intelligence, that in all likelihood, if the president wanted this assassination to take place, that it would. I can't think that it would have been so badly botched and a near miss. That's exactly the kind of rhetoric that Trump, to his credit, and President Biden both said yesterday we need to tamp down. I saw a very interesting interview this morning on the Today Show. Speaker Johnson was interviewed by Willie Geist and Savannah Guthrie. Speaker Johnson, of course, broke into the "we need to tamp down this rhetoric. It's gone too far. It's not what should be happening in a free society." And then proceeded to attack President Biden. For example, President Biden said just yesterday that Donald Trump was a fascist. Well, he is. Just look at Project 2025. It is a fascist manifesto. It is the destruction and the dismantling of the federal government, of the regulatory protective process. It eliminates taxes for rich people and corporations, and putting that burden on you. Public school students will now have to take, or would, should it be implemented, have to take an additional aptitude test for the military, not private school students. And who largely goes to private schools are rich white kids, especially those of the billionaire class, while the rest of you can all become cannon fodder. There are points within Project 2025 that talk about the elimination of the Department of Education, Department of the Interior, the EPA, the complete dismantling of financial oversight and regulation, like the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, so that the rich can just do whatever they want with money. Of course, not theirs, yours. The elimination of Social Security. The end of Medicare. Not just the defunding, the end of it. Of course, how do they end Medicare? All people who become eligible for Medicare after the implementation of Project 2025 would be defaulted into private Medicare Advantage plans, thus eliminating Medicare. Eventually, they'll all be private plans that the government would be paying for. You people on the right are so afraid of socialized medicine. You want your tax dollars to go to private insurance companies to protect you under the guise of Medicare when it is nothing but. It sends women back to medieval times. There are clauses and phrases in Project 2025 that talk about women no longer being allowed to have bank accounts, to own property, to have credit cards. That's medieval. And even though it's medieval, it was the way things were in this country up till the 60s. Joy Reid is spending her entire program tomorrow evening on MSNBC, 7 p.m. The entire hour on Project 2025. I'm not a particular fan of Joy Reid. I just don't like her presence on television. I'm sure she's a lovely lady. I think she's very, very smart. I think she's actually quite good on television. I just don't happen to enjoy her program. So I don't watch it much. But I might just have to watch it tomorrow. If you don't know what Project 2025 is, you need to study up on it. Randall, you can call the program. It's just going to be a little sloppy. Just listen to me on the phone. It should work. It's just going to be a little sloppy. You are welcome to call us. Forgive me that I keep coughing. I have a little tickle in here somewhere that I can't seem to get rid of. You can call, though. You are welcome to call us. You are always welcome to call us. I just think it's going to be a little sloppy. I'm going to have to hold it up like this, and it's just going to be a little odd. But yeah, anyway. But then, and do I think Project 2025 is part of what happened yesterday? It might be. I don't know. The shooter is dead. We're not going to be able to ask him what he was thinking. Now that investigation, that part of the investigation, the interviewing family, friends, co-workers, classmates, that's going to have to be enough to fill in what this young man was thinking. And very odd for his age is that it has been reported that he had an extremely minimal social media profile. Whereas many, many young people have dramatically extensive social media profiles. Hell, I've got a pretty extensive one, and I don't have near what some of the younger folks have. This particular young man, as has been pretty widely reported now, had a very, very thin, minimal social media footprint. So there's no going back to his Facebook page or his TikTok or his fill in the blank and kind of gleaning from that where he was coming from or what his state of mind was. I should think, to a point, the action alone pretty much tells you what he was thinking. But I can understand, the point of law enforcement, that they're trying to learn more and deeper and find out why. Why is always a very, very important part of these things. We don't just want to know what happened. We need to know why. And we should. And I, along with the rest of the nation, looks forward to finding out why. Randall says, well, Mike Jackson, I should go back further. Mike, why am I forgetting to do this? Mike says, whoa, just woke up for an act. Anything interesting happened? Yeah, it was a quiet one, Mike. You didn't miss much. Very quiet weekend. Very quiet. Randall says, we wouldn't be here in this situation if the conservative Supreme Court of the United States, or I will say Supreme Corporation, hadn't first ruled that corporations have the same rights as a person. Secondly, Citizens United case finally put money in the pocket of politicians. I have told you this story before. Former President Carter, when he was still healthier, obviously, was a guest on. This goes back to 20. Might go all the way back to 2012, or it could be as soon as 2015. I'm not exactly certain. If you go to YouTube, you can find it. President Carter was a guest of Tom Hartman. Mr. Hartman asked President Carter what he thought of Citizens United. Was the United States now an oligarchy, rule by the rich? And President Carter says, I think it was actually, I think Tom asked if we were headed toward oligarchy. And President Carter said, we're already an oligarchy. The rich are now in control. They own government because the Supreme Court legalized bribery. And that's not going to get any better until Citizens United is overturned. I have not mentioned on the program for quite a while, but I would ask you to check it out. And let me do this very quickly. It is www.movetoamend.org. It's a national organization dedicated to the idea of changing the Constitution, of codifying in the Constitution that money is not speech and that corporations are not people. Such a change to the Constitution would fundamentally restore fairness, justice, and restore the political system in this country. Mike mentions the GOP convention should be quite entertaining. The speakers have zero self-control, so they'll spin this weekend with vengeance and ugliness and calls for revenge and retribution. Remember, the head of the Heritage Foundation, which is a Koch-owned, paid-for, operated group who's been the primary author. They are not the only author. There's some 300 different conservative groups who have contributed to Project 2025, to the 900-plus page manifesto that is Project 2025. The Heritage Foundation is the lead group. It was the head of the Heritage Foundation who said that we're in the middle of a revolution in this country, and it will remain bloodless if the left allows it. Trying to somehow put the emphasis and impetus on us for a bloodless revolution. We're not part of your revolution. We don't want to be part of your revolution, and we're not the first ones to pick up a gun. A registered Republican did that. And we weren't the ones to storm the Capitol to try to end the American experiment on January 6th, 2021. That was the right. Those were your sheep, not ours. So Mike concludes it will likely unveil their true and ugly nature. You can see that every day. I don't think that's anything new. Their nature is shown every day. Randall mentions regarding the shooter from yesterday, many of his classmates have expressed that he was quite introverted and bullied. Makes sense. Makes sense. Does not make it right. Does not justify it. But it does make sense. I can only assume that the shooter had a political problem with Mr. Trump. Well, welcome to the ranch. We all do. But he's the one who took it a step further. Quite possibly, don't know for sure, spurred on by Trump's own endorsement of political violence. We won't know. We may never know. Because he's dead now. And the best source of information would have been the shooter himself. He's not here anymore to tell the tale. And by the way, law enforcement fired back. It's what they should have done. The fact that the shooter is dead is not the fault of law enforcement. It is the fault of the shooter. But we're a different country today. I have told you on this program many times before, this country has never reckoned with, mourned properly, gone to a collective form of counseling, if you will. We've never come to grips with the assassinations, plural, of the 60s. President Kennedy, Malcolm X, Bobby Kennedy, Dr. King. We have never come to grips with any of it. We never mourned properly. We never had a collective therapy session over it. Then when you take yourself into the Nixon war on drugs, the Vietnam War, Watergate, Reaganism, trickle down, Iran-Contra, this constant feed from the right that the government is not here to help you, that it can't be trusted. You should trust us to run it, but you can't trust government. Talk about irony. And then, of course, the outright endorsement of political violence from the MAGA movement and Trump. Our country has consistently moved toward the point where the only answer we see to everything is to shoot at it. I butchered the quote days ago that when all you see is, when you see every problem as a nail, the only tool you grab is a hammer. Increasingly, we have come as a nation to become a nation that no matter what problem you see, the only solution is to shoot at it. So, I don't know. Perhaps last comment of the night as we wrap up. Please go check out the president. He is due to speak from the Oval Office in about 5 minutes. Well, I shouldn't say 5 minutes. They'll let all the networks come on the air. They'll do a brief, lay of the land. Probably about 8:05. I would suggest 8:05. Could be as late as 8:10, 8:15. The president will actually speak. But normally on our Oval Office address, they don't go right at 8. They give the networks a little time to kind of preview, let audiences settle in, and then flip the cameras on somewhat after 8. But we're going to be leaving you very shortly. Please go watch the president and see what he has to say. Mike says everyone is in a panic about Project 2025, but no president has ever been able to deliver campaign promises. This is not about campaign promises. This is a fundamental plan using executive order and executive power to completely re-engineer government. It is going to be done entirely through use of executive power. This is not a legislative effort. This is executive order. Trump never got his wall. He got the money from the wall. Only things he was useful for, sign off on. Imagine a chaos. Yeah, look, I'm just telling you. You don't have to believe me if you don't want. I would ask you to please research it and look it up. It is not a legislative agenda. That's why the Trump immunity decision from the Supreme Corporation was so profound and leans directly in and enables Project 2025 to take place. It is to be implemented through executive action, not legislation. It is the complete dismantling of government. It is the degradation of government. It is the mass privatization of government. It literally eliminates taxes on rich people. It eliminates them. And it eliminates corporate taxes. Who the hell do you think is going to pay for all that? You. The 99%. There are more of us. We have to remember there's more of us. And we don't shoot our way out of these problems. We vote. Many, 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 many more of us than them. We vote. We don't shoot. We vote. We don't use weapons. We go to the ballot box. We get mail-in votes or mail-in ballots. Absentee ballots if we're going to be out of the country. If you live in a state with early voting, you vote. You make sure. And if you plan to go on one day and it rains, pours, you get in a car accident, you get called into work, you plan yourself a different day. You vote. That's the most powerful weapon you have. Vote. If your vote didn't mean anything, they wouldn't try so goddamn hard to take it from you. 7:58, we're going to check out for today. Please, if you're having dinner, if you're finishing dinner, if you're doing the dishes, if you're getting the kids, I was going to say getting the kids ready for school. It's July. What was I thinking? If you're getting yourself ready for work tomorrow, take a few moments to watch President Biden. He goes live. Well, the White House said 8 p.m. It'll probably be a few minutes after that, again, to allow the networks to say, this is us, we're at the White House, here's what's coming. Probably about 8:05. Sit your bum in front of the TV and watch what the president has to say. For everybody at hot101.net, thank you for being with us, and thank you, Hot 101, for allowing me to be part of a great, great radio station and a great hot101.net family. For everybody associated with the program, April, George, Lynn, just everybody. Thank you for allowing us to be with you again today. For Daisy the dog, Guy the cat, he's hanging in there, and Kristen downstairs, I've done about all the damage I can do for tonight. We return tomorrow evening from 8 p.m. on GCPR and on the various social media platforms that you are watching right now. We will look for you then. Go watch the president. Have a great week, and please take care of yourselves and each other. Have a great night and a great week.